Once upon a time, there was a woman who woke up every day with mild yet unexplained anxiety. And to relieve that anxiety, she would reach for her phone and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Every free moment she had, she reached for her phone and scrolled again. Now, sometimes the scroll made her laugh, distraction, relief, a joke. Often it pushed her buttons, it stirred up her sense of justice, and sometimes it left her feeling envious and unfulfilled. Whatever it gave her, it rarely gave her what she was truly hoping for, and that is peace. Now, this woman thought that her phone was the problem, so then she did what most women in her situation would do. She set time limits. She turned it off. She put it out of the bedroom. She tried dumbing it down. By the end, she was practically Amish with her phone. But she finally saw the truth. She blamed the phone, and of course she did. Most of us do. She fought the phone with every rule that she could think of. But that's when she finally realized the phone was not the source of her anxiety. It was actually the symptom manager. Her phone wasn't causing the problem, it was covering the problem. And then it was compounding the problem. Because underneath all the screen time strategies, her real problem was still sitting there, the mild, unexplained anxiety. Not big enough for a diagnosis, but just loud enough to destroy her peace. But once she saw that, something softened in her. And she realized, well, I don't need a smarter phone or a dumber phone or get rid of my phone. I just need a clearer mind. So she did something totally different, something brave, something outlandish, something simple. She made a thinking plan. Yes, this is the video that followed last week's video about having a doing plan and a thinking plan. Let's go deeper into the thinking plan. There are three kinds of thoughts that shape our world. There are, number one, the thoughts you intentionally think. Those are the things that matters. Those are the things that you can influence. Those are the things that bring clarity. Those are the things that are about bigger purpose or community or contribution. These thoughts give you peace. This is called mental stewardship. It's choosing your focus on purpose. It's what the Bible calls Philippians 4:8. Whatsoever things are true, lovely, just, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. It's us guiding our thoughts. There's a second category of thoughts. Those are the thoughts that you intentionally ignore. I remember the day I discovered this category. I was reading 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey, and he talked that there are things in the world that we can have influence over, and there are things in the world that we can think about, but we have no influence over. And I realized I could safely and intentionally ignore that outer broad circle that had been driving me insane because I did not realize I don't have to think about the things. I don't have to think about all the things. So, the thoughts you intentionally ignore. This is the genius move that the time rich woman knows gives her time richness. A time rich woman chooses what she does not spend her mind on. Number one, other people's political opinions. That is something that I do not spend my time on. I am not going to try to convince people to believe something that they don't want to believe. Celebrity drama. I intentionally ignore most of it Every once in a while, my Google will get me drawn into a couple of my favorite little celebrities. I hate to even mention who they are. So not always perfectly successful on this one. Sports. Just not into sports. If I were playing sports, I'd be into sports, but because I'm not playing sports, I'm not into sports. That's a whole category that I ignore. You choose your categories according to you. The news cycle. Listen, it sounds productive and it sounds like we're being a really good citizen to stay on top of the news. But no, the point of the news is to keep us involved so that they can make money for their sponsors. We don't have to participate in that. We can get our news from a much more consolidated source. We can just pay more attention to what matters most to us. We don't have to be newsbound if we choose not to. The time-rich woman chooses intentionally what she desires to ignore. And those are shaped and those are very personal according to her purpose, her priorities, her values. These are problems that are not hers to carry. And so she doesn't. If I am not going to do something about this, then I don't need to think about this. And then I can take all of that time and all of that energy and put it in the areas that I am going to do something about, that I am called to make a difference in, my direct areas of impact. Understand this. Being intentional about the thoughts you ignore, that is not avoidance. That is actually discernment. But there's a third category of thoughts. So, category number one was the thoughts that you intentionally think, the things that you want to solve because they make your life better, or because they're beautiful and they uplift you, or they're things that you're learning. And then there's the category of thoughts that you intentionally ignore. But here's the third category, and this is a very critical category, and that's the thoughts that you avoid without realizing it. These are the ones that are building pressure. These are the things that you're afraid to face, the conversation that you've postponed, the boundary you haven't set, the habit that you don't want to admit is costing you, or a belief that you inherited, but you've never examined. You've never tracked it down to see if it's serving you or not. Left unattended, these are the thoughts that grow roots, and the roots create more anxiety. So, here's the truth. Your phone wasn't the problem. Your phone was distracting you from the problem. But our mind is just always problem seeking, looking for the danger so that we can avoid it. A time-rich woman doesn't try to force herself into motivation. She actually leads her mind with clarity. So she knows these three categories: intentional thoughts that she wants to think, intentional thoughts that she does not need to think. She just sets those aside. And then the thoughts that she's avoiding without realizing it that need some intentional thought. So she doesn't try to control. In fact, instead of trying to control, she calms her mind. Instead of controlling, she has learned the art of calming her mind. She knows what she's choosing to think about, what she's choosing to ignore, and what she finally needs to face. This is a bold confidence move. I was having a conversation with a woman just last week, and I said along the lines of, I never talk about that. That is not in my category of things to discuss. And we just moved on immediately. Instead of me feeling like on the spot, I need to come up with an opinion about something that may or may not be aligned with my values, may or may not help this relationship move forward. I just I have no opinion on that. Not even going to worry about it. It's nothing to me. It's a moot point, as Joey from Friends said. If you guys catch that reference, you are my people. All right. This is peace. This is agency. This is self leadership, starting with mental leadership. And you can do this too. So, here is a very, very simple thinking plan. Every week, ask yourself these 3 questions. And this plan does not have to take very long. Keep it simple, but notice the compound benefit of doing it regularly. Number 1, what do I choose to think about this week? For me, that answer is my family and how much I'm going to enjoy spending time with them over Thanksgiving break. I'm recording this right before Thanksgiving. What do I choose to think about this week? All the many things that I'm thankful for. What do I choose to ignore? Anything that creates unnecessary drama. Is any drama necessary? I don't know. Have to think about that. I haven't thought about that. That'll give me something to think about too. And then question number 3. Is there anything I've been unconsciously avoiding? This is such a good question. Anything I'm unconsciously avoiding? I've asked this so much on a regular basis that now I can notice on like a random Tuesday, oh, that's the feeling that comes when I'm avoiding something. That's something there. I'll need to visit it. And because I journal every single morning, that's when I usually visit those, find those unconscious thoughts. I'm telling you, this is a huge, huge secret to how I deal with mild, unexplained anxiety. Number 1, I have a deep trust in myself that there is nothing that I'm actually avoiding, and that it's just sometimes the mild, unexplained anxiety is just old patterns. I lived under it for so long that my brain just has that memorized, and so it just kind of slips into defaults. So I think of it as that, like, oh, that's an old sensation. Kind of like if you lost a limb, but you still had phantom pain from the amputation. That's how I think of anxiety sometimes. Oh, that's just an old sensation. My brain just has that feeling memorized and it comes on. So I have a deep trust in myself because consciously I have a plan to face anything that I might want to hide against. And number 2, I am not afraid to do it because I have got proof after proof after proof that my life actually gets measurably better the moment that I deal with anything that I've been avoiding. Like maybe it's a difficult conversation. I had this talk with my husband yesterday. We were talking, and I said, one of the things I think that has made our marriage so strong is that we really are not afraid to talk to each other about anything. Now, it might not be the best time to talk about, like maybe one of us is tired or needs to eat something or take a nap. But I know I can talk to him about anything. He knows he can talk to me about anything. There is no conversation that is too difficult to have. And because I've had so much practice with him, I'm very, very comfortable having those conversations with somebody else. As in, it's better to just go ahead and talk about it than to avoid it. And so it's that dual practice of forcing yourself to face a thing that you might not want to be thinking about, and then forcing yourself to do the thing sooner rather than later. Because the dread of avoidance, the mild anxiety that comes from just the amount of things that we are avoiding in our life. Imagine how much lighter and easier your life would be if you have a sense of there's nothing I'm avoiding. There is literally nothing I'm avoiding. Or if I'm avoiding, I know I'm going to deal with it as soon as I know it. 5 minutes, 3 questions. Watch your whole inner world change. And by the way, if you want help creating your thinking plan, or if you want help walking through it, then book a clarity call. During the clarity call, we can find the one thought that's running your life and replace it with a sentence that sets you free. For example, you're not addicted to your phone. You're just ready to lead your thoughts. So, if that is intriguing to you, if you'd like to know more about that, in the description there will be a link. And also, I want to say, if you have not had a chance and you want to grab the 60-second decision filter, that's how you can make decisions confidently in a minute or less. There will be a link to that below. But don't settle for scrolling your life away. Scrolling is just a symptom, and it's compounding the problem, but it is not the problem itself. And also, go back to last week's video if you didn't catch it to watch where I talk about having both a doing plan and a thinking plan and the importance of separating the two if you want to have peaceful productivity. So, the thinking plan is the peaceful part, and the doing plan is the productivity part. You'll want both, okay? So both of these pieces go together. All right. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear your big aha. Put that in the comments too. And may your week be peacefully productive the time rich woman's way. Bye bye.